The Warriors are back on top of the NBA community with another NBA championship to their resume, winning 4 titles in the last 8 years. And as I look at the dynasty, I have to admit this is one of the greatest runs of all time, and I believe this championship was really the icing on the cake to cement them as one of the greatest dynasties and runs in the history of sports. I mean, when you bring up runs like Tom Brady's Patriots, Lionel Messi in Barcelona, you have Michael Jordan's Bulls, Tim Duncan's Spurs, Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, the Warriors are now in that conversation. And with the Warriors winning their 4th championship in total, that brings Steph Curry to his first ever finals MVP. And we have a lot to discuss in this video about how the Warriors got here after having one of the worst seasons of all time just 2 years ago. But before we get started, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on social media. All of my links are down below in the description box. But without further ado, let me rewind the clock and let's go back to 2019. After they lost against the Raptors and Klay Thompson tore his ACL, Kevin Durant tore his Achilles, and it looked like it was Steph Curry and Draymond going forward for the foreseeable future, as Kevin Durant obviously was going to leave in free agency. So many people said that was the end of the Golden State Warriors dynasty. I mean, yes, Steph Curry is still in his prime, but Draymond Green is not the player he used to be in 2016. Klay Thompson had a major knee injury, and though you're going to get D'Angelo Russell in the offseason, let's be honest, D'Angelo Russell isn't much. Going from Klay to D'Lo is a major downgrade as your second best player. And Steph Curry breaking his hand in the first couple of games of the 2020 NBA season did not help anything, but in this league you need a little bit of luck to be able to get by and be consistently great. And yes, Curry's injury was tough to watch, but it was somewhat a blessing in disguise because it led to them having one of the worst years of all time. On that roster you had guys like Eric Pascal, Jordan Poole as a rookie, not as a sophomore or third-year player this season, Draymond Green, who we all know offensively has little to no impact without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and a bunch of other miscellaneous players that really did not contribute towards winning whatsoever. But in this league you have to take your growing pains, and that's exactly what the Warriors did, as they just fed D'Lo the ball and spammed pick and rolls and let some of the other guys gain experience in this league to scout out certain parts of the team that you need going forward, like Jordan Poole, as he went through one of the worst rookie seasons I have ever seen any good player have. Eventually though, they would move on from D'Lo and acquire obviously Andrew Wiggins. Now Wiggins at the time was seen as one of the worst contracts in the league for good reason. He lacked motivation on defense and wasn't that efficient of a volume scorer whatsoever. Combine that with being a ball stopper, and in this league, especially on this Golden State Warriors team, it's really tough to win like that. But literally as soon as he touched down in Golden State, granted it was only for like a couple of games, but you saw the instant motivation on the defensive side of the ball. He was no longer a walking blow by. His lateral quickness was really good and sharp, and he showed a lot more effort off the ball as well to get into passing lanes and nice weak side shot blocker. And even offensively, his 3-point shooting improved, and he wasn't just taking dumb shots for the sake of taking dumb shots. But in the process of getting Andrew Wiggins, let's not forget that they also got other first-round picks that led up to them getting Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Now for the sake of this video, I'm not going to spend too much time on Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, or even James Wiseman, who they took with the 2nd overall pick in 2021, because if we're being real, those guys did not contribute towards this championship, and to be quite literally, James Wiseman didn't even play. I'm gonna save them for later on in this video. But as you move past the 2020 NBA season, that brings us to what transpired last year, and what a big turnaround for the organization. Because sure, they did not make the playoffs, but there were so many positives with this team going forward that I immediately saw the light that if they got solid other role players instead of smelly Oubre and Kent fucking Bazemore, that I knew they'd be back in championship contention. Andrew Wiggins' defense took another leap as he became one of the better defenders at his position, and combined that with his offensive contributions, and he was a legit top 50 player in the NBA and top 10 small forward as well. Harrison Barnes 2.0, I should add. Then you look at Jordan Poole, who had multiple great stretches throughout the season and showed a lot of promise, averaging 19 points on 49, 39, and 91 shooting splits in the month of March. And then you got the established guys like Draymond Green and Steph Curry, proving yet again that they are one of the more underrated duos in the league, and I think that's because Draymond Draymond Green is not this offensive guru as a scorer, but their chemistry in the two-man game led to not only Draymond Green having another great season, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but Steph Curry offensively having arguably his best year yet. And sure, they did not make the playoffs, but them not making the playoffs was beneficial in the long run, as they did end up getting a pick in the first round that ended up being Moses Moody. And just looking at what happened that season on the whole, adding Klay Thompson to the team along with other role players that can fit the system way better than Smelly Oubre, who couldn't buy a bucket for the first couple of months of the season, and Kent Bazemore, who looked like he has the IQ of a squirrel at times, it was very obvious to me that they were going to be at least championship contenders when healthy again the next year. And if you remember earlier on in the season, I made a video about the Golden State Warriors being the most dangerous team in the NBA, and even though I didn't look at them as the number 1 or number 2 favorites to win the title, I still said I wouldn't have been shocked if they won the championship, and look at where we are right now. They are champions of the NBA yet again. And the reason they're back on top is because of one word, and that is culture. The Warriors exemplify great culture in this league. When you want to look at development, just look at guys like Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was not some top pick in the draft. If anything, he proved why he wasn't in his rookie season, having one of the worst rookie years I've ever seen. But now here we are in year 3, as he's grown as a shot creator, a shooter, and even as a playmaker, to the point that he's one of the top options on a team that has won a championship. And sure, he had his rough stretches here and there, and defensively he wasn't very good, but the guy is only 22 years of age. The sky is the limit for this kid. Then you look at Andrew Wiggins as well, who's playing the best basketball of his career on both sides of the ball. I don't care if he's not averaging 20 points a game anymore, because even though he's not putting up those scoring numbers, he's far more efficient now as opposed to back then, and he's actually contributing towards winning basketball and good offenses in the Golden State Warriors this season. Say what you want about him quote unquote benefiting from the gravity, I truly don't care, because he has to go out there and ball out, and what he did in game 5 was amazing. The guy was a beast on the boards throughout the whole series and made timely shots for this team. I mean, there truly isn't anything you can say to knock Wiggins off this pedestal, because he contributed in a major way towards them winning this championship. And I'm not trying to be a dick eater here, but when you look at the Golden State Warriors, one thing that I think is very underrated about their culture is the environment and the way they approach the game. This is a team that is very fun, energetic, and when it comes to teamwork, nobody emphasizes that more than the Golden State Warriors, and that is shown in their big 3 of Steph, Klay, and Draymond. For starters, Klay Thompson, I have to say, what a comeback story for him. This is a guy that went through one of the worst 2 years I have ever seen a player go through. The man was on the verge of potentially winning the Finals MVP in 2019, as the Warriors could have come back from down 3-1 against the Toronto Raptors in an amazing comeback story, by the way. But the basketball god said, nope, give me that ACL, and Klay Thompson was out and the Warriors lost. But then as he was set for his comeback and people were doubting him, saying, man, I don't think Klay is going to be the same, he tears his Achilles. And if you thought people were doubting him before, oh my god, people were doubting him after that also. I mean, I was hearing people saying that his shot might not be the same. I mean, my goodness, don't get me wrong, I get it, your legs are very much needed, especially when it comes to shooting, but this is not some random shooter that we're talking about. We're not talking about Bielitsa, we're talking about Klay Thompson, one of the 5 greatest shooters ever known to mankind, and arguably the 2nd greatest shooter of all time. And what did he do these playoffs? I know he had his suspect games here and there, but for the most part, he was Klay Thompson of old. Sure, his defense was not what it used to be. It was definitely a little bit iffy at times, but he averaged 19 points a game on 43, 39, 87 shooting splits, which translates to a true shooting percentage of 55%. And to put into perspective how identical it was to the Klay Thompson of old, Klay Thompson throughout his whole playoff career averages 19 points a game on, you guessed it, 55% true shooting. So to see Klay Thompson go out there and literally just be Klay Thompson en route to winning his 4th championship, it truly is an amazing thing to see. And speaking of this core, that brings me to Draymond Green. My goodness, the fact that people were shitting on this man for having a podcast is crazy. Nobody was saying anything when they beat the Nuggets. Nobody was saying anything when they beat the Grizzlies. Nobody was saying nothing when they beat the Mavs in 5. But the moment that they have a little bit of adversity, all of a sudden it is a problem for Draymond Green to be podcasting after games. Well, I'm glad that we're done with that stupid ass narrative, because guess what? They just won the damn championship and Draymond Green contributed amazing at the end of the series. I get it though that he struggled at points in the series, but if you're going out there in a closeout game on the road in Boston, hitting jumpers that you have not hit throughout the whole playoffs, and then you silence the crowd, I have to say, man, you get a thumbs up in my book. An amazing performance from Draymond in game 6. But then we saved the best for last, and that brings me to Steph Curry. Talk about a legacy defining moment, something that he didn't even need at all in the past, but it's nice that he has it now. No matter what the criticism is about Steph Curry, whether you think that his championships are flawed in the past, you think that he needed Kevin Durant, you thought he couldn't beat LeBron, you thought this, you thought that, whatever you thought about him, all those criticisms he answered in this finals. You said he can't show up in fourth quarters, he closed the deal in game 6 and in game 4 in Boston. You don't think he can win without Kevin Durant? Well, this is his second championship without KD. And if you tried to question his legacy because he didn't have a finals MVP, well, I have some harsh news for you. Not only does he have 4 rings, but he got that box checked as well. Because against the #1 defense in the NBA, he averaged 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals on 48, 44, and 86 shooting splits, which translate to a true shooting percentage of 63%. All the criticism and slander that people gave him saying that he isn't quote unquote him, those conversations and arguments should never be made ever again, because not only do I believe that Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time and that's cemented going forward, but I don't think he has a single damn thing to prove to anybody. I don't care what anyone says. All that's left for Steph Curry to do is just add onto his legacy with more championships, more MVPs, more All-NBAs, All-Star appearances, and whatever he could get to add on to his resume. Because this is a guy that, yes, is 34 years of age, but there's still more to be done in his career that he could accomplish. So whether you have him at 10 or 9, Steph Curry could rise even higher, and when it's all said and done, we may be talking about him being a top 5 player of all time. But before I wrap up this video, big ups to the Golden State Warriors, also Andre Iguodala. This probably was his last year in the NBA. Nice to see him going out with another championship on his resume. He deserves it. The coaching staff also deserves a boatload of credit. Mike Brown, Steve Kerr, my goodness, Steve Kerr, man, 9 championships as a player and a coach, well deserved. That system, all-time great stuff. The front office also deserves a boatload of credit, and I have to say, this is just a testament that you don't have to just be tanking every single year in order to rebuild your franchise. And before people say, hey man, the Warriors were bad, didn't they technically tank and get all those picks? Well, no, because yes, the Warriors did get top picks like James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody. Those guys barely contributed, and in the case of James Wiseman, didn't even play the whole season. So the front office really deserves a lot of credit by getting guys like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton Jr. I mean, these are diamonds in the rough, players that all the other teams could have been able to get but just passed on for one reason or another. The Warriors were able to develop these guys, sent some of them to the G League, and now they're back on top of the NBA world. So I have to give a boatload of credit to guys like Bob Myers and also Joe Lacob. But that concludes this video, you guys. Make sure you check out the Hoop Concessions podcast. We are literally streaming later today, I believe 2 hours after this video drops, so stay tuned for that. You can catch my reactions to this series and just the finals as a whole, recapping the NBA season. Stay tuned for our top 10 players at every position. We're also going to be dropping our top 50 players in the NBA soon, so stay tuned for so much content on that channel and this channel as well. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. I'm out. Peace.